Thursday at 7:30 a.m. on Zoom. If you would like to attend that board meeting as a spectator, please let me know. I'll send you the Zoom link. It is open to all club members.
I think Christie's on the Zoom, and she handled all the publicity for the family picnic this year and did a fantastic job. You ought to give her.
Thank you.
She really did, and to prove it, in the spotlight, I'll hand this around so you can take a look at it. But in our local newspaper, where we had an article to start with, we have some great pictures from the picnic, and we didn't even buy an ad for them, with them. So you see, Rotary does get some recognition when we ask for it. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Another announcement that just came to me, community service will be meeting on Monday. I think Tom Motley will be saying I noticed that, but I found out about it, so yes. Any other announcements? Okay, one week, so Roger, I think we're ready for our first mini presentation.
I'd like to introduce Amelia. She is going to be a sophomore at Columbus Academy, but she's in the Rotary Youth Exchange Program and going to Spain in September. She has a 4-minute presentation she'd like to give to a group.
Right. Yeah. Kind of have to go up from there.
Okay.
So it's moving there, but not here.
Okay. Hi, I'm Amelia. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you guys. I'm really excited. So I'm going to Spain for 9 months. This is a little bit about me. So some things I like to do, I like music. I have an older brother who's in the Naval Academy. I like sports. I do track and soccer. A little bit about where I'm going in Spain is there's a city called Valencia. It's one of the big cities. It's about 2 hours away from where I'm going, but most people know the bigger city, Madrid, which is 4 hours north of me. That's the closest. Most people know Barcelona and Madrid. So looking at Madrid is northwest from me. I'm right on the coast called Alicante. And that's like the big beach over there. So why did I choose exchange? I really like to travel and experience new cultures and new people with different experiences. Why did I choose Rotary to go on exchange? My grandpa has been in Rotary for almost 50 years. And my dad has been in Rotary for around 20-ish years. So some of my goals are to try new foods. That's a big goal most people have because in America, I feel there's not a ton of different cultures mixed into our food industry. So I'm really excited to try some of the newer foods, meet a bunch of different new people with new experiences and just different ways of living life. So how did I prepare for my exchange? I do this program called Talkie, which is an online tutoring system. And at my work, all my chefs speak Spanish. So I talk to them in Spanish and just have conversations with them. So my family in Spain, the daughter Martina is 16. Then there is Marina, the mom, and Pablo, the dad, and Teresa, the 14-year-old sister. The 14-year-old sister and the Teresa and Martina, I've bonded over music, and then Pablo, the dad, I bonded over our love for European soccer, although he loves Real Madrid and I'm a Barcelona fan. And for those who don't know, they're kind of like the Ohio State and Michigan like conflict. Muchas gracias para escuchar, which means thank you for listening.
Anybody have any questions? When?
What track sport do you like? 100-yard dash, what?
I like the 400 and the 800, so kind of the middle distance. Yes.
Why did you choose Spain?
So Spain was my second option. I chose it because I already knew a lot of Spanish because I'm taking it in school, but I felt like it's a very like safe country as well as just being such a beautiful country. Yes.
I wanted to find out, you said you're going to be on the coast,
Yeah.
so you're going to be east of Madrid, Gibraltar, or on the Atlantic coast?
I'm gonna be on the Atlantic coast,
What was your first choice?
Italy. So they were kind of right next to each other. So I was fine with it.
Well, tell them why you got, tell them you got Italy and why.
So the person who actually got Italy was she was trying to get Italy for 3 years, but kept on getting canceled because of COVID. So I'm kind of like, okay, like I'm proud of her. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Amanda.
Thanks for speaking to us today. All right, Mr. Witzel, I believe, you have another presentation.
On TV, we see items taken in our schools involving emergencies, lockdown, shootings, use of drugs and guns. Thus today, we are turning to the security and the officers on the site called School Resource Officers, Community Education Units, Liaison Officers, etc. In Dublin, and in surrounding areas, we've had no trauma like what we see on TV, but we are having security issues. So today I'm bringing to you Officer Scott Nicholson, who has been stationed at a middle school. I want you to think of that, middle school in Dublin. And the Dublin Police Force then are in that school building. Yes, these issues are occurring down at that level. And in my meeting with Scott, I became aware of the complexity of this department and the many sections or departments they have there. Scott will be talking about challenges, responsibilities, issues involving bullying, drugs, weapons, theft, and even sex. And where do you think some of these large issues begin, or where he's trying to target the base of the flame? That will be a surprise for you guys, I think. Scott comes to us from Northwest Ohio, graduating with a Findlay College degree in criminal justice. He spent the first 8 years in Defiance in Police Department, and in the last 8 years, he's been in Dublin. He's married and has 2 children, ages 7 and 11. He lives out of near Belfountain. Of particular interest to me are his comments about cell phones and parents. Also, I'm asking you to remember this reference to the number 76. Please welcome Scott Nicholson.
Good afternoon. So the more I do the shop, the more I speak, the more I realize that what's normal for me isn't necessarily normal for most other people. So if there are any questions anyone has at any time, please ask. It might be something that I gloss over because it's not a big issue for me, but it might be much different for you guys. So as was said, I work for Dublin. I'm in the community education unit. I'm one of our school resource officers. I do have a bachelor's degree from the University of Findlay. I started my career in private security, actually, as an officer and then as a shift supervisor. Started with Defiance in 2007 and had many different responsibilities there. And then I came to Dublin in 2014. Our police department, we've got a little over 70 officers. I can't give you an exact number because there's always people coming and going due to retirements and new hires and everything. We also house INREC, which is the Northwest Regional Emergency Communications Center. They provide dispatching services for Dublin, Hilliard, Upper Arlington, and Worthington, as well as all the fire and rescue. That's all done out of our building there in Dublin. We also have civilian record staff, civilian staff for property and accreditation management. Then our department makeup of our patrol division is the biggest. There's right around 35 officers assigned to patrol. Then we also have Detective Bureau, which houses one of our detectives is our FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force liaison. Our criminal interdiction unit, which kind of functions as our vice unit, as well as houses our traffic unit. Our vice unit works, they do all of our drug, human trafficking, prostitution, anything that would traditionally be classified as a vice crime. So they work with Ohio Investigative Unit, Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Border Patrol, and many others for different cases that you would normally associate with those. Drugs coming in from overseas, the houses, anything like that involves Border Patrol and Customs and all that as well. We also have a community education unit. That's where I'm currently assigned as a school resource officer. We have 7 school resource officers, 3 in high schools and 4 in middle schools, and our middle school officers kind of take care of all the elementaries and other buildings that the school district owns. The community education unit also houses our recruitment team and performs all of our community training. We do ALICE training for schools and for local businesses that request it. Citizens Police Academy, we usually organize to help with that. Has anyone ever been to our Citizens Police Academy? No. Why not? If you haven't, I encourage you to go to our website and sign up. It's pretty eye-opening for people. You get to use our equipment, go on ride-alongs with our officers on actual patrol shifts, fire our guns, play with our radars, mess with our drones. You get to do a little bit of everything to see kind of how we operate. So if you haven't, please do that. Then lastly, our department participates in the Delaware Tactical Unit. For those of you that don't know, Dublin sits in 3 counties. That makes it ridiculously complicated for us with court systems, because we have to know how paperwork needs filed in 10 separate courts, because we have our own mayor's court and then juvenile, municipal, and common police for 3 separate counties. So because we also sit in Delaware County, we participate in Delaware Tactical Unit. We have 3 officers that are on the tactical unit. One is a team commander. Then we also participate with their crisis negotiation team that kind of goes along with that tactical unit. Specifically, my responsibilities, as they are right now, along with being a school resource officer, that's my primary assignment, but there's a lot of other ancillary roles that we take on additional if we choose to. So probably the most important is our community liaison unit that kind of functions as our diversity and inclusion unit. myself and Officer Scott Brown were kind of our founding members. Helped write the policy for that even about 4 years ago, before everything kind of exploded, before riots occurred. So luckily we're kind of ahead of it a little bit. And other agencies have actually started coming to us to check out our policy, check out how we do things, because they want to get involved and do it themselves. I'm also a crisis negotiator with the Delaware County Tactical Unit. I'm one of our drone pilots. We actually have the largest drone unit in Central Ohio, in Dublin, and it's still growing, which is nice. I'm on our bicycle unit, our awards committee, recruitment team. I'm also certified as a standardized field sobriety testing instructor, as well as a electronic speed measurement device instructor. All the radars and LiDARs, everything we use to give you guys speeding tickets. I teach the guys how to do that. Sorry. Like I said, my primary responsibility is school resource officer. I'm assigned to John Sells Middle School, which is kind of right in the middle of Dublin. I'm right there on 33. I also am responsible for Indian Run Elementary School, Griffith Thomas Elementary School, our Head Start, which is our early childhood learning center, as well as Emerald Campus. So all of those buildings are under my care. I have about 2,500 kids and about 400 staff that I'm responsible for. So that's just a real brief synopsis of me. I know the first part's boring, but we'll get into the interesting stuff. So the school district, Dublin City Schools, has approximately 18,000 students right now, with about 2,500 employees. It's either, I'm not sure if it's larger than Cardinal Health as far as the largest employer in the city of Dublin, but if it's not the largest, it's right up there. So like I said, there's 3 high schools, 5 middle schools now. We opened a new one last year as well. 14 elementaries, as well as Emerald Campus and our Head Start building. In our school district, about 40% of our kids belong to various minority groups. There are, I know you said 76, I looked it up, I gave you the wrong information, 75. There are 75 different countries represented in our school district, and there are 78 different spoken languages as a first language in Dublin City Schools. So it's an amazing challenge for the staff. We have a team of people that are English as second language teachers, translators, specialists. We have around 30 or 40 just in our district that kind of go back and forth between buildings as they're needed. So my typical work with the school I work in, our population just doesn't come from Dublin. Our school district goes down into Columbus as well. For my middle school, there's Davis Middle School, which actually sits in the city of Columbus, as well as a couple of our elementaries sit in the city of Columbus. So my student population is a lot more diverse than some of our schools that are kind of further into town, further on the north side of town. But my primary role is the physical safety and security of everyone in the building itself, students, staff. And then to kind of help with that, I will go out and assist patrol if there's calls near my building. Not everyone does that, but I look at it. If I can help stop something before it's a problem in my school, I can leave the building to go do that. That's going to be a better use of my time than standing at the door, hoping it doesn't come our way. I conduct any criminal investigations for anything on campus, any of my buildings, or if there's a SRO that's out, I'll help cover their stuff. The stuff we have to deal with at my school primarily would be assault. A lot of school fights are mutual. I'm sure you guys remember being in school. People get in fights. It's not a huge deal, but over the past couple of years, we've seen more and more just attacks, just blindside attacks from behind, attacks when someone walks out of the classroom. Excuse me, people that were not anticipating a fight and not want to fight, and now they're just being assaulted. So we've had to deal with that lately. Disorderly conduct, which would cover any type of mutual fight that got so out of hand that the school would like it handled with something more than discipline. That rarely happens, but that's an option. Theft, which has actually gone down over recent years, so that's, I guess, a positive we can report on. Vandalism has gone way up. I don't know if you're familiar with TikTok and TikTok challenges. There was a lot to do with schools. destroying bathrooms, throwing red Kool-Aid all over the place, destroying cars. So we have to deal with that a lot. We actually had a lot of families, once we figured out who was responsible, that are still paying the school back for some of the damages that the kids caused, just so they could record it and put it online. Criminal trespass was an issue we had to deal with last year. We had a couple of high schoolers come into my building. Take an 8th grader, I guess not take an 8th grader, he wanted to deal with it and then left, put him out of school and left. Which we had to deal with that as criminal trespass and as interference with custody. We have menacing issues, which is just making threats to one another, sex offenses, drug offenses, some issues with parents writing under suspension, not using child seats, stuff like that. And everything I've listed, we deal with down to the 6th grade level regularly every year. It's not a large percentage of the kids, but it is a regular thing that we have to deal with every single year, including photos, videos on cell phones, social media advertisements for whatever drugs they're buying or selling. It's out there. Even in Dublin, it's something we deal with. So my typical day, typically I'll be out at parent drop off, greeting kids as they come in, and then I'll be out there in the afternoon and say goodbye to them as they leave. It's just good for visibility. Parents see that I'm there. They see the kids see that I'm there. It helps me get familiar with the kids, especially at the beginning of the year when we have new incoming 6th graders or new students from other districts, just to get to know them, see what they look like, learn their names. Help with lunch duty as available. Anytime there's going to be a large group of kids congregated, we like to try to be there. Sometimes we get fights there, but more just because if there ever is a situation where there's going to be a targeted group, it's probably going to be the larger group of kids. A lot of times there'll be discipline issues that the school admin requests security footage for, so I'll pull that for them. I work with our patrol, not just our patrol, but surrounding agencies. Like I said, a lot of our kids live in Columbus. We have some kids that have come from Hilliard or open enroll from clear across town. And by across town, I mean like the east side of Columbus. We have some open enrollees from all the way over there. So if there's ever criminal issues that patrol or detectives or anything need help with, all the system as much as I'm legally allowed to. All the student information is protected by privacy laws. But there are certain things we can release without a subpoena. Then if I receive subpoenas, I'm the one that will be providing either security footage or personal information, whatever's been authorized by a judge to give to those investigating officers. Some of the stuff, we also assist the students with criminal investigations and the families with criminal investigations. One thing that comes to mind, we had an incident this past year where we had a couple fights in school, and the parents of one of the involved parties decided they would take it into their own hands. They all lived in Columbus, and they found some 6th grade girls are involved and kind of as a family beat them up in the streets of Columbus. So that resulted in a Columbus investigation, criminal charges. So we cooperated with that as much as we could. But then also the family that had been charged were still in our school. Everybody still went to school together. We had to try to maintain a safe environment for everyone, which on my part also involved helping that family do the investigation. What's going to be expected of them, where they need to be, when they need to be there. What's the best way to cooperate without, violating your own rights, without letting more information legally required to. So we try to work with and help both sides of the investigation, whether you're a suspect or whether you're a victim. We're going to try to, at least in school, try to walk you through the process and help you get through it as smoothly as possible, just to try to make sure that in the building, everybody's going to be safe. There's not going to be animosity. There's not going to be threats being made. We always try to be in the hallways, be visible between classes. Just in my building, there's over 700 students, so the hallways fill up. There's people everywhere, even during class. If every class lets one person walk, there's going to be 40 or 50 kids in the hallway at any time. So try to be able to be visible, be available to talk to people. Something that we do, we teach DAP, which is our drug and alcohol prevention program. So we teach that to 7th grade in the health classes every trimester, and then the high school, I believe they get it their sophomore year as well in high schools, from the high school SROs. That involves classes on criminal laws that we see kids getting involved with most often in Dublin. Drug and alcohol prevention, social media, how to navigate social media. We go over decision making. Then something new we started last year. We tried to do it for a week. So on day 5, we just kind of make it an open forum, question and answer. I'll take in we call them plate carriers, but just ballistic plates for rifles. We keep carriers and rifles and everything in our schools. So I'll take that. It weighs about 30 pounds. I'll let the kids try that on so they get a little bit of a taste of what we walk around in every day with, and just be as open and honest with the kids as we can. We get questions from everything from will I get in trouble if, insert a question there, to what do you think about the riots that happen downtown? What do you think about various racial issues? Kids ask some very straight questions, so I think it's a great time to address those if we can. We try to make it a priority to be available for students. Sometimes in my office, I can look at it a little bit differently because I'm not a school employee. So kids that are ticked off with the school, I can be kind of an outside person they can come to, that I'm still in the building. I still work with the counselors. I can still share information, but I'll make my office available if they need to come to someplace that's away from other students or away from a teacher. If they're having an issue, they can come sit in my office and get some work done, or talk about life or whatever they need to talk about, just to kind of let them cool down to where they can return to class without there being any issues in class. One of the biggest things we've had to do since I started in school, which is about 3 years ago now, but even before that, is deal with mental health issues. Especially when COVID hit, there's always kids that are struggling with things like that. But when COVID hit, a lot of the kids that are kind of borderline, then begin to struggle as well. So we deal with that a lot. Sadly, one of the most common forms of paperwork I have to fill out are emergency medical admissions for mental health reasons, which are if a child is either doing or thinking about self-harming, committing suicide, anything like that, we actually have the authority to mandate them into somewhere where they can talk to a professional and get a treatment plan, or in the worst case, it'd be housed there for days or weeks, depending on what the needs are. And then we also, as we mentioned, we help parents out with social media issues. Many parents and grandparents have no idea what cell phones are capable of these days. We see a lot of families that buy their kids all the way down to 5th grade a smartphone with unrestricted internet, just hand them the phone and that's it. So kids are now getting into issues that you and I probably didn't get into, or at least in college or beyond, because they literally have the world at their fingertips with no restrictions whatsoever. So I kind of try to help parents that are willing, walk them through setting up parental controls, walk them through what apps they should or should not have on their phone. I see a lot of sideways glances over here. So one thing I always tell parents, probably the most thing, if you have Snapchat on your kid's phone, you're wrong, delete it immediately. More and more apps are starting to do things like Snapchat. For those of you that don't know, it was originally designed as a photo sharing app that once the photo is viewed by whoever you sent it to, the app deletes it permanently. So you can get away with a lot of sex offenses, a lot of drug offenses, a lot of threats, and there's no way to investigate it. That company does not work well with law enforcement, and every developer that's come up with software to pull those photos, they have gone to court with and have shut down. So, and that's just one of hundreds of apps that do things like that. Instagram, Facebook, they all have private messaging systems that will delete things as they're read. So I can't go over everything because that would take a week, but that's one of the things we try to help parents through as they come up, is what kids should not have on the phones and how to lock them down. My 11-year-old has a cell phone, and I can get on my phone right now, completely control hers. See everything she does, see everything she's ever looked up, every conversation she's ever had. And any phone can do that. Parents just don't know that. Now you're glaring at me. Am I getting you in trouble?
Hers is in Spanish.
My phone actually is in Spanish.
Very nice. So some of the kind of personal things that I've dealt with, I don't know how every school resource officer operates. We're all different officers. We all have different trainings, backgrounds, experiences, so we kind of approach it our own way. One of the things I try to do is I'm not super close to a lot of the more popular kids, a lot of the kids that are doing well. I try to seek out the kids that might be struggling, might be kind of all by themselves a lot, not because they want to be, just because they are. Just a few quick examples. There's a girl we'll call B, who, as a 7th grader, she was in 7th grade when I came into the school, and she was just kind of off alone by herself. She had some issues with self-harm. Parents had been heroin addicts, dad still was, mom was in and out of sobriety, but she just did not play well with adults, did not play well with others. And so I just kind of pestered her. I would go stand beside her and just kind of stand there. And the first time she talked to me, I remember I walked up and she rolled her eyes so hard, I thought she was going to fall over when she saw me coming up. And so I used that, and I joked about it and started talking. And by the time she was out of the 8th grade, she was coming to visit me in my office. She was talking about her family issues. She was doing better in school. The school counselors were a lot more involved, not that they hadn't been, but she just wouldn't open up. The school was able to get an education plan that she was able to complete so she could get to high school, because she did not do well in normal classroom settings. And that's not all because of what I did. That just kind of opened the door to get her talking to adults, I guess. There's another young man, there's a set of brothers, we'll call him JK. JK and his little brother were 2 boys from inner city clubs, from a black family. Dad was abusive, a drug dealer, and had actually been murdered sitting in his car in the parking lot, while also shooting and killing the person who shot him in a drug deal along that. He murdered someone while being murdered. So mom did the right thing, got him out of that area, brought him to Dublin, got him enrolled, but they just had no interest in anything at that point, reasonably so. In fact, the JK had asked one of the teachers showing him around if the school had a cop in the school, and she said, "Yeah, do you want to meet him?" He said, "No." Had no interest. He just wanted to know if I was there, so he knew when he needed to be careful, I guess. So I tried to talk to him whenever I could. Always said hi, always be nice, and then he started opening up a little bit. Then one day we were just near each other, and one of the teachers, I think, had told me about the test he did well on, so kind of congratulating him on that, letting him do a good job, that we're all proud of him, and asked him what he was, like, if he played any sports, and he started talking about basketball, and he really loved basketball. He started really opening up. I don't think he meant to, but he and I started talking basketball, and he really opened up, and the same thing by the time he just finished 8th grade. He's in the office visiting me, saying hi as we went by. He was in trouble every once in a while, but not for anything bad. And every time he would get in trouble, when he would talk to the principals, and he would actually cry and feel bad and didn't want his mom to be disappointed in him. So, and we do a sock drive every year at my school, and he really likes socks, so we could talk about that. I pile up socks in the office, he'd come try to take them. He liked them. There's another gentleman, another young man who just finished 8th grade. He actually came to us this year. Very loud, just naturally very loud kid, not really intending to be a troublemaker, but just really loud and center of attention, like to keep rumors going, that type of thing. And he would always, not seriously, not menacingly, but come up and stand chest. He was bigger than me, quite a bit bigger than me. He'd come up, stand chest to chest, and tell me that he could take me, and it was just my badge that was stopping me. So I told him my badge has nothing to do with it, and just give it right back. And we kind of developed a rapport, and actually ended up helping, because we didn't know at the time he'd had some issues at home. He had been suicidal in the past, and one day I think some kids were joking around with his cell phone, and he got the switch flipped. He got upset. He became suicidal. He walked out of the building and tried to go out walking in traffic. And this kid's probably 240 pounds. So staff was able to, a large group of staff was able to stay between him and the road, so I was able to get there, and I was actually able to talk him into riding with me without ever having to put my hands on him. He climbed in my car with me and went back to the school, and we had to have patrol take him down on a emergency medical admission, but he cooperated with that process completely. And it actually ended up happening a couple of times last year, not just with him. Another young lady, a sixth grade girl who could probably walk into most establishments and buy alcohol without question. She just looks incredibly grown up for her age. She looks like an adult walking around the school just because of how quickly she's matured. Her attitude is still that of a sixth grader. Just always in with the people causing trouble. Never got in fights, but she was always encouraging her friends to get in fights. And after time and time of being in trouble, either for being involved in the organization fights or videotaping and putting them online, which is something we deal with all the time now. Between the counselors, myself, and the principals, we finally convinced her that she didn't get in trouble when these certain friends were in school. If they were absent that day, she was fine. And finally, towards the end of the year, she separated herself from this group of friends, and we never had an issue with her again. And she was so intent on, when she saw the change herself, she was so intent on keeping it that way that she actually had to endure some bullying and threats from the group of girls that she didn't want to hang out with anymore, who had all kinds of things to say about that, and to us for convincing her to leave them. But hopefully she'll be back this year. But she had no further issues, no fighting, no gossiping. She just was finally able to separate herself with the support of the staff and I. And then the one I had to deal with the most in my school last year, there was the special ed unit was just down the hall from me, and up until you're a certain age, no matter how violent or anything your actions become, you don't really leave the school because you're young enough that the staff can control you. Well, this young man, once he hit sixth grade, he got up to about 170 pounds, probably 5'6", 5'7", and typically he was a super sweet kid. If something did happen, he always felt bad later. He would apologize to people. He would make presents for people. But when that switch did flip, he would start pacing. He would walk through the school. He would start destroying property. He would start punching glass trophy cases. And then if that didn't get the attention he wanted, he started assaulting staff members or trying to strangle himself or expressing his desire to kill himself. So that was something I had to deal with several times. I actually ended up having to use the force on this sixth grade boy just to keep him from harming himself. Not just the staff members, but from strangling himself with his hoodie strings or hitting himself with something he found or trying to cut himself with a piece of plexiglass he broke off of a paper holder or something like that. But through that, every time it was over, we kind of became close. He would always come and talk about it. He never had hard feelings. His family never had hard feelings, which is rare these days. And he actually started coming to my office to have coffee breaks as a reward for good behavior. I have a coffee maker in there. I actually bought him a mug with his name on it, so we keep that with the teacher. And if he had a good week, he'd come down and have coffee with me. He ended up having to go once because of his size, because of the number of times this happened. He actually had to end up going to special school funds built for kids like him that could handle him in a much more safe manner. And then this year they've actually moved Davis's heavy behavioral unit, which is built for kids like that, to my school. So that'll be a new adventure this year. So some things we do in the summer, obviously there's patrol shortages. Our guys are also step in and work patrol shifts to cover shortages. We've just started developing curriculum for programs. We have a First Responders Academy coming up, which is going to be us, Washington Township, and a few other agencies. For kids, we have a drone camp we're planning. We hope to do it this summer, but it's probably going to be next summer. We can actually get some of our indoor campus kids. Flight experience, mapping experience, have a finished product of mapping one of our schools that they can then present in a job interview or down the road, or if they want to get involved with something like that. Trying to organize pickleball and skate park tournaments. I don't know if you know anything about the department, but we have one of the largest skate parks in the area right from our building, and just put in a bunch of pickleball courts and everything. We always conduct ALICE trainings, like I mentioned. We try to hit that heavy in the summer, and then try to plan some type of fishing event, like a catch and cook fishing event. Dublin has all kinds of bodies of water that you can fish in, that you can catch in, and then attend and assist with school safety meetings. For instance, for this year, I've already redesigned our tornado safety plan. It was about 25 years old. You could tell it just been pieced together and stuff got added to my building. So we help with that. as the year begins, they start pulling teachers in for safety meetings and for trainings, and we'll help with that, assist that if we can. I know it's a whole lot in a very short time, probably not short enough, I'm sorry. Any questions at all? Yes, sir.
Does your department or any person of Dublin Police interact with BCI?
Yes.
Bureau of Criminal Investigation, London.
Yes, actually, I apologize, can't remember if it's a London branch or Bowling Green branch, but our most recently retired chief is actually one of their directors now. Yeah, any evidence we have for anything, that's the lab we typically use. So we coordinate with them. Any type of homicide investigation or real serious crime that we could use some resources, they will send a team to help with that. Yes, sir.
What are you or the schools in general doing to prevent entry of someone who has entered these schools recently and taken the lives of students? What kind of facility changes are you recommending, or the school district recommending? Because as an architect, I've got an idea, but I think some of these things have been could have been boarded off if we had facility.
Yeah. So we do all kinds of stuff. So every building, I should say, every building that we were able, we have actual physical barriers around the building that it's kind of like landscape architecture. So we'll have big, heavy concrete benches out front that just look like benches, but in reality, they're there to stop cars from pushing through the front door. We put protective film on the windows and doors of every first floor or anywhere else there's an entry point, so that you can't just walk up and shoot a window out. You're going to put a hole in it. It's not ballistic, but the window won't shatter out. You can't put a chair through it. It would take you got to have a hammer, some large tool, and it's going to take you a little bit to get through it. So you can be able to get in or out. Every entry point into our school, most schools you can get into the front lobby, but again, that's surrounded by walls or the glass with the protective glass around it. And then you actually have to buzz into an office, and a secretary or someone in the office has to actually physically touch a button to allow you into that building. That's how all of our buildings are set up. Every door stays closed and locked except for the one door that goes into that vestibule area. If there's anyone that's going to be coming that we think might be an issue, if there's parents that are upset about something, or if there's a custody issue going on, I'll typically get some sort of safety packet or briefing or something together, get it to the employees in the front office. If this person comes, let me know right away. Because sometimes we call them, they need to come for a meeting, but we want to make sure that they stay where they need to be, and then there's not going to be any issues. If there's ever anything happening between students that I don't feel comfortable trying to control myself, I can call for help, and other SROs come, patrol comes. We're kind of fortunate in Dublin because if we ever did have a major incident like we've had, in 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to have 50 to 100 officers there from every surrounding jurisdiction, as well as our own building emptying out, and that within 20 or 30 minutes of air support and multiple SWAT units on scene. So we try to get it covered, and we also do threat assessments. Anytime there's any type of threat, we'll meet as a team and go over it, go over the different areas and see if it's credible, and if it is, what do we need to do about it.
I was just going to follow up on the situation in Texas. Have you guys studied that?
We haven't studied it officially because there's just still more information coming out. It's not a done deal. That investigation is complete. We don't like to look at things until we have everything. We don't learn the wrong thing from it. But a lot of that has fueled a lot of parental questions to the district. And I give our superintendent a lot of credit because he kind of came out with a statement in the email to the parents saying that, listing all the things we already do and saying we're not changing anything because we've already got it covered.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
It seems like you add a lot of value, you and your program add a lot of value to the Dublin schools. There's been some controversy in Worthington about your type of program. Have there ever been concerns raised in Dublin about it?
As far as from parents, I'm not sure. I'm sure there have been. There's concerns about everything. However, every time our contracts with the school district has come up, they've approved it unanimously and moved on. There's not even been a discussion. It's okay. Do we want SROs back next year? Yep. What's the next item? So we've got a very, very good working relationship with the school district.
Yeah, I just not as much a question as just a statement. My experience with special schools and alternative schools where the information really comes from.
Mhm.
Parents and kids in the and you reflect, that's what you work on.
Yeah, we have several different ways. A lot of them are state mandated now, but ways that parents and kids and even teachers can communicate a threat. We have call lines, we have text lines, there's places you can email, there's people you can talk to. There's really no excuse for not saying anything because there's so many avenues to get it. Even if you want to remain anonymous, we like to do that. Every threat that we've been made aware of that's been the potential to be something really bad has come from kids. Kids that have overheard something in study hall or got to look at somebody's notebook and saw drawings or plans or something written down that caused alarm. And they've said something. So far, they've always said something, and we've caught it so early that we don't even know if it would have turned into anything. So we've been very blessed with that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you said on one situation which you diffused a problem from the time you got the tip till you confronted, how much time elapsed?
Yeah, typically, if we get something like that, if it's something that we need to address immediately, we will separate whoever's involved from the student population. Even if we don't tell them what's going on, they're going to come in a room by themselves, and there can be someone with them, just to eliminate any opportunity from them catching wind that we know what's going to happen. But yeah, usually if it does turn into something that's going to be criminal nature, by the end of the day, there's usually somebody in custody or a packet's been sent to court if it's a juvenile. That's not something we sit around and wait on and take care of it as soon as we know about it.
So as you were talking, my mind kept wandering to thinking that you weren't talking about Dublin. Oh, he must be talking about somewhere else. But so realizing that this is happening in Dublin is just kind of,
Yeah.
I guess, ignorant to admit. But like, so do you think Dublin compared to other areas, is it better or worse? I mean, are other areas getting much worse or much better? And then over time, we all came up through high school and we had our forms of bullying and harassment then. Do you think it's better or worse now? I mean,
It depends on the thing. Overall, Dublin is very safe. It's a much safer community than a lot of the ones around us. But it is usually surprising for people to learn that this stuff does happen here. We deal with the exact same stuff, just less often. So when we do our drug and alcohol prevention, when I cover the criminal laws class and the drugs class, one thing that always surprises the kids is I'll put up stats from Dublin for the use of the past 3 years of drug calls, drug arrests, juvenile arrests involving drugs, and they usually are, their minds are blown by the numbers they're seeing on the screen and of just stuff that's happened in the city limits involving kids. A lot of times it's the same group of kids, but it is something that we deal with. Something we've been able to do to kind of try to keep it out of the schools, especially this past year, we've been dealing obviously with vaping, tobacco, nicotine, THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana that gets you high. So through the course of catching several kids doing this, we kind of determined where they were purchasing it. We shared that information with our community impact unit, with our plainclothes investigators, and then they were able to use their contacts at the Ohio investigative unit and get some undercover buys at this business, and actually end up criminally charging the people that were selling to our kids in medical school. So the stuff I do, I don't look to just keep in the building. I try to keep it out of the building if I can. So if I can get something, if I can share information with our other units that can get some stuff done so that I don't have to deal with it in the building, we'll do that every time. We've had several drug trafficking issues that we've sent very good information to our detectives about or to investigators about, and stuff they could actually work on the road to try to shut it down in the school.
we've got time for one more question.
Whoever has the best question.
Mine is about suicide. I've been
Okay.
on TFG schools and we have way too much. We just had a suicide last week.
Mhm.
How these kids, I don't understand how they're getting to that place. And you mentioned a couple of circumstances in your schools, but I feel like it's rampant in Wilmington.
Mhm. It's something we deal with. There'll be sometimes there'll be 3 to 5 emergency admissions a week from my building. And I'm one of, 20 buildings in the district. So weekly, we're taking 1 or 2 students to get assessments done by professionals.
How are you getting to the root of, like, you've got to rid of the seller of the
Yeah.
drugs? How are you getting to that root of?
That's where, with the school, that's where the counselors come in a lot. We actually are blessed enough, we have a social worker assigned just to our building. So between the social worker and the counselors, they will work with whatever facility they're seeing or whatever counselors they're seeing outside and make sure whatever treatment plan is in place that they're following up within the school, learning what they need to look for in the school so they can share information as they have to with that provider. And that's one thing that could be the hardest. Something we see is either parents don't think it's a huge deal. Something that I've noticed, especially with our Asian population, the city of Dublin is about 20% Asian. Some more traditional Asian parents see it as weakness, or if the kids start to have those thoughts of punish for them, or they're told to stop it and do better and just cheer up, or reminded of all the good things they have and why they shouldn't feel this way, which doesn't do anything to help. So it's a struggle both with the kids and sometimes with the families as well, just to take it as seriously as they need to. We've got parents mad at us because we're taking their kid to the hospital for them because they wouldn't do it.
Well, I hate to cut it short. It seems like there's a lot of questions. You have time to stick around after?
Sure.
Thank you very much for.
I think that's what you're.
Everybody will steal.
Thank you again. Great presentation. Next week, we'll have a presentation by Jen Miller from the League of Women Voters of Ohio. And she'll be talking about what's going on with districting and gerrymandering. With midterm elections coming up in November, I think it's it's timely topic. Right, before we wrap up, we have a raffle, but before that, we have an announcement. I forgot. Michael, real quick.
Thanks, Steve. Just wanted, since we have exchange students in the group, I thought I would bring everybody up to speed on a former exchange student we have at Rotary, Sylvie Lippitz. Some of you may have remembered her. Anyways, after she left here, she went back to Germany, graduated high school, graduated university, and just had her first child. She posted on Facebook this weekend. She's doing very well. She's the closest thing I have to a dog.
That's fantastic. Huge success. All right, now we're ready for our raffle. Shirley.
Okay, we have a whopping $8 in the daily.
$8 in the daily.
So Mike, since you find it,
All right. 501174.
174. Stay fancy. I'll send it all in one place. I do.
We have $37 for the Ace of Spades.
$37 for the Ace of Spades. I took the Ace of Spades out this week.
And for the Ace of Spades, 501181.
181. Oh, Shirley.
She has.
Everything.
Yeah.
Come on up here and hold it.
I'm hopping up. Where are they? Right here. Oh, okay. Am I lucky today? Sure, in the middle. King of Hearts.
King of Hearts, no good. Thanks for playing.
Okay.
All right, everybody, if you would join me in the recitation of the four-way test. All right, of the things we think, say, and do, first, is it true? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, everybody, for making this a great meeting. Have a great rest of your week. We are adjourned. Alan Grossman, can I see you at the podium, please?
Principal calling into the office.
Yeah, she was on the screen. I want to talk to somebody that well, it's kind of a big commitment. It's like a 4-year commitment. It's once a month meeting. So the thought process was and probably got a very fresh perspective that sounds like you have to be a great position to be where interested. If it's not an immediate no, I'd like to send you like just like a responsibility sheet. Maybe we can talk about it. See if you're open to it. Awesome. Thank you. I'll be in touch.
Okay, good. Because everybody was I don't fully ask. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna give up. I don't know if I can be a monthly because I'll be able to do everything else. But one thing I'm absolutely sure. Whenever we do something. So we give money to them. That's why. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you can't just say but they have come. It's already happening. We already matched. I was diagnosed with but that is a big part of it. There's part of the idea of getting rid of the guy there. They can provide so we have to have them decide they don't want to be on the board anymore, but just give us legacy. Yeah. So that's kind of my in my head, as well as, if not myself, probably. In general, but speaking specifically with respect. Yeah, but that's kind of a district. All right, I want it to be. That's fine. This is a self-serving presentation. No, it's not self-serving, but it's self-serving as well.
Yeah.
So.
I just, as I know, some requested other kind of.
So that's all about getting to the person that's presenting. So I see the foundation. Foundation. We have a little bit of a I want to be I also want yeah.
There's a camp. I know. Oh, really? I don't know how they work, but like how it does it, but I was like, I'm just impressed that there's a club. Well, yeah. How long do you think you need to get paid on it? It's getting in August.